Hi, I'm Amber and welcome to Rainbow Colours. This week I wanted to talk about stimming, like autistic stimming, and basically like last week I showed you all sort of things, stimming toys you could take to church and how to use them and how they're helpful. But this week I want to talk about why stimming is important and why it's okay for us to stim. This week I actually generally got myself a load of Bible verses to talk about it. I went through a lot, but I feel like I only really scratched the surface. But I mean, if it's helpful, then great. So I wanted to talk about stimming. Stimming, if you don't know what stimming is, it's a way that autistic people do things, like they'll flap their hands, or I don't know, sometimes play with their hair. Lots of different like movements, and it's all supposed to be self-regulating. You can do it for many different reasons. Sometimes you can do it because you're feeling because you're not feeling great, or something's upset you, or anything like that. Or you can also do it because it's excited energy, and that can cause stimming as well, because you've got to get it out somehow. I know when people stim, it does look very strange to other people, and that's fine. That's why I've decided to talk about it this week. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was like how you can use stimming as a form of worship. Like, I mean, you look at people like King David in the Bible. He did some mad things, like he in 2 Samuel, I think it is, he danced naked for the Lord. Not that I'm suggesting we like all go strip our clothes off and start dancing naked, but that's a way of worship. He was using his body as a form of worship, and there's plenty of verses throughout the Bible. I only picked out 2, whether the best ones or not, but they basically reiterate my point. I picked out Romans 12:1, and it says, "I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship." So, like it says there, like you can use your body as a form of worship, whether that's dancing, whether that's stimming, I mean, as long as your heart's there for God and it's a pure sort of love for God, I don't like it. It says there that it's fine, like that you can, doesn't matter what you do as long as it's a form of worship to God and you're feeling that. Obviously, like it does say as well in the Bible not to distract anyone as well. So, but at the same time, if you're stimming and you're using it as a form of worship to God or anything like that, I like that is a form of worship in my book. The way I understand it. I mean, I've started in worship now, stimming in work, allowing myself to stim, because for a long time I like denied that to myself, and I feel like, when you deny those sort of things to yourself, it's a bit, you find it hard to connect a bit, like as much as you should be connecting with God and having that time with God. Whereas now I have started to, usually it looks like hand flapping, or one time I think I just started jumping on the spot, and and it wasn't for a negative reason that I was stimming. It was because I had so much like excited energy in the worship that I had to start stimming like that. And I'm perfectly aware that other people thought I was weird for that. But that worship was a really good worship, you know. And I really connected, and I managed to have some personal time with God during that worship. So, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you decide to start stimming in worship. Actually, I think if you're autistic and you feel like you need to stim for whatever reason, whether it's like, for me, usually in worship it's excited energy. But whatever reason you decide to stim during the worship, unless you're like don't force yourself to do it. However, like if you feel like, I don't know, like you need to flap your hands or something, or like I did, just jump on the spot, and then you know, that's great. It means that you're connecting with God and you're putting yourself aside, like yourself aside, to be able to do that. And like, because to be honest, for me it was really embarrassing. And like when I first started doing that, I felt so embarrassed by it. It was like such a strange thing to do, because I've been so used to holding it back that suddenly you start doing it, and it's a strange thing. Don't get me wrong, like not just autistic people stim, everybody stims, like, but autistic people stims are a lot more obvious and like very much more bigger than anyone else's. Like if you're someone who, I don't know, you like to play with your hair, or you like to I don't know, some people bite their nails and stuff like that, that's all classed as stimming. Or you like to hum a tune, that's a stim, you know. So stimming isn't a negative thing, it is just something, a way you use your body to regulate yourself, or to let out excited energy, which I do a lot more because of excited energy. There are some times where something's hit me really hard, and I'm having to stim to calm myself down, you know, because I don't really know what to do with myself. So, yes, so that is such an okay thing to do, you know, in church and whatever. What else have I picked out? This other Bible verse I found, there's plenty. This is only scratching the surface level Bible verses. Like if you delve deep into this, there's a lot on using your body as in worship, to worship God in lots of different ways. But this is just scratching the surface. And this verse is in Philippians 1:20, and it says, "As it is my eager expectation and hope that I will not be ashamed, but that full courage now, as always, Christ will be honoured in my body, whether by life or by death." Which, yeah, like sometimes it does take a bit of courage to allow yourself to stim and to do these things that you feel like you need to do for whatever reasons. Like you need to just let something out, or whether I don't know, it's excited energy, you know, whether it's excited energy, whether it's you need to let something out, you know. Sometimes stimming just does that for you. And like I said, it's not a bad thing. If you're doing it to connect with God and you're not doing it to try and distract people and stuff like that, then there's nothing wrong with it. Like I always say, just always be mindful of other people around you. Like, try not to do anything that's going to really distract them, but still allow yourself that to be able to stim and to have that moment. Because you know what, I've found that where I've been stimming a lot in worship, or just generally allowing myself to stim, it's helped me connect more with God, and to be able to have that experience with God, or to have that moment with God, because I'm not holding myself back from giving everything in that moment, which you should be able to do. Even though that looks really strange to other people sometimes, But you'll find that most of the time, if you're doing bigger stims in worship and stuff like that, it's usually, if you look around, usually there's a lot of people getting quite excited or having big moments. Never hold yourself back from it, from giving everything to God. And if holding back means you're holding back a stim, then don't hold it back. That's that's the best advice I can honestly give. Just don't hold it back. If you feel like, if you're holding back a stim and you, like, if you're holding back a stim because you're worried about how you're gonna look to other people, you're allowed to look weird. Like, like someone said to me once, like, it's not the Holy Spirit that makes us weird, we're already weird. Like, everyone's already weird. And, you know, if we were all the same, like, the world would be a very boring place. And if we all worshipped the same, then we wouldn't be... If we all worshipped the same, it would be because we're copying somebody, and that's not what God wants at all. He wants us to give everything we have to him. And when we're worshipping, or whatever it is, like, if we're holding back from God, then, you know, then we aren't doing what God wanted us to do in the first place. So if you feel like you need to stim, just stim. Those stim toys I showed you last week are really great. Like, they're great for concentrating, they're great for a lot of things. Also, there's things like, I do a lot of flag worship. I love my flags, and I've got loads of ribbons and stuff, and I make flags, and, you know, I absolutely love doing it. And flag worship I find is great because it means that all that energy, whether it's exciting energy, sad, whatever energy it is, like, I don't know all the types of energy there is, but usually, like, whether it's excited energy, whatever energy it is, and you need to get that out, I find that really helpful, because then I've got something to do with my body. I've got something in my hand. I know other autistic people who find flag worship really helpful, and it's not an unbiblical thing. Like, they used to do it all the time in the Bible. Not that I'm going to get into that today. That's not something I'm going to get into. That's a different topic on its own, flag worship, with a lot of different Bible verses and reasons for it. But yeah, no, things like that are great. Like, I mean, you've got something to do. You know, you've got something to do, and you're able to move your body, and, you know, and it's a biblical thing. So things like that I find quite helpful. So yeah, like I say, just don't hold back from God. And sometimes, if you're holding back a stim, sometimes it is holding back from God. And that sounds such a weird thing to say, but it is true. And I'm so sorry about this shakiness, because my hands are not the steadiest. I'm trying to hold it as still as I can, and it kind of just wobbles everywhere. I'm really sorry. But yeah, no, like I say, like, if you hold back a stim, sometimes that's holding back from God, and it's not letting yourself encounter God how he wants you to, because sometimes you have to just lay that all down, and sometimes laying it down means you need to stim. And this sounds like a weird thing to say, and for anyone neurotypical, probably sounds really mental. But I promise you, it's a very normal thing. And I've spoken to a few people in my church, and I've mentioned it to them. They're like, but we do weird stuff in worship as well. I'm like, yeah, but what you're doing, it's not for the same reasons that we are, or to the same level, or, you know, there's, and I'll try to explain that. But other people do weird stuff in worship. Other people do these weird things to, like, let other people do strange things that seem strange to others, when it comes to worship, or whether it comes to whatever's going on. People do weird things. There's, honestly, if you came to my church, you'd think we were all mental, you know. But yeah, but definitely don't hold these things back at all. I think they are perfectly fine things to do, and anyone neurotypical watching and sees people like this, don't start judging them for it, because that's just gonna create this barrier between them and God if they start trying to hold it back because you don't like it, you know. Obviously, if they're distracting you really bad, like the Bible talks about distracting people from connecting. If they're distracting you from connecting with God, then I don't know, say so. Just don't be horrible about it. Just be really gentle and nice about it. Say, I'm really sorry, but you're distracting me from worship, because we can all do stupid things, and you know, sometimes you don't know, someone might put a stim on for whatever reason, whereas I don't think you should be putting it on at all. But you should be allowed, if that's what, but at the same time you shouldn't be holding these things back from God either. And you know, if they're distracting you that bad and it is a genuine thing, maybe I don't know, change seat and say, I'm sorry. Like, if you feel really bad, just explain to them, you're distracting me and I don't want to distract you from worship either, so then just move. It's not a big deal. It's not a big thing, but 9 times out of 10, right, we're not putting it on, and 9 times out of 10 other people at the same time are probably doing something that seems strange as well. So just don't hold it back. And so thank you for watching this week. I know it's a bit of a odd one to explain to people. There's lots of intricacies around it. And also, if you have autism and you want to explain, if you want to explain things like this to your church, go ahead to explain them. There's lots of great conversations you should be having, like just watching a YouTube videos can be just really helpful. But if you're not having these open, honest conversations with people in your church or your pastors or whoever in your church, then it's not, this sort of thing's not going to be known about. And so have these conversations. If you need to I don't know, share this video with anybody. If you please give me a like and subscribe if you want to know more about anything to do with this sort of stuff. But thank you for watching this week. Please like and subscribe. Click the bell icon if you want to know when I upload next, and I'll see you next Friday. Thank you. Bye.